أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها النبي قل لأزواجك إن كنتن تردن الحياة الدنيا وزينتها فتعالين أمتعكن وأسرحكن سراحا جميلا وإن كنتن تردن الله ورسوله والدار الآخرة فإن الله أعد للمحسنات منكن أجرا عظيما يا نساء النبي من يأت منكن بفاحشة مبينة يضاعف لها العذاب ضعفين وكان ذلك على الله يسيرا ومن يقنت منكن لله ورسوله وتعمل صالحا نؤتها أجرها مرتين وأعتدنا لها رزقا كريما صدق الله العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Surah Ahzab, the previous section of the surah discussed the victory of Muslims and the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with which it became possible at the time of Ahzab. After Ahzab, in the last ayah that we had read last time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that we gave you أَرْضًا لَمْ تَطَئُوهَا, such lands that you have not trodden so far. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave some victories to believers, particularly Khaybar was also conquered a few years after Ahzab, the battle of Ahzab, and the riches of war came, and Muslims had become generally in a better financial shape, economical shape. So generally Muslims were doing better. And looking at the general state of believers, the mothers of all believers, the Azwaj Mutahharat, the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, also thought that when everyone is in a better shape now, then perhaps it should be that we should also get some more from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in terms of our spending. So they gathered and they asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam collectively if whatever they were getting from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if that could be increased. And what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also got the news of was that it was said that the wives of the other kings, the wives of kings of Persia and Sham, they have so much riches, they have such jewelry and stuff. So the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam could also do some better. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam learned of it, he was really hurt by it. And the most Mufassirin agree that this is the background of this ayah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu qul li azwajik. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that Ya ayyuhan nabi, O our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, qul, say, li azwajik, to your wives, in kuntunna turidna al-hayata ad-dunya wa zinataha, if you intend to have the pleasure of the worldly life and its charms, fata'alain, then come on, umatti'kunna, I shall give you some stuff, wa usarrihkunna sarahan jamila, and release you in a beautiful fashion. So what the Prophet ﷺ was saying to them was that if world is your goal and the riches of the world are your goal, then come to me, and you do not prefer to live with me the way we are living, then I'll give you something of the world and then release you from marriage. The ulama have written that based on this ayah, if one sees that their wife is simply not happy with them for a very long time and there is no way of staying together and staying happy, then it is mustahab, which is not mandatory, not compulsory over a man, but something that is praiseworthy for a man, that if he sees that there is no way of staying together and the vision and the approach to life is very different, then they can give the option of talaq to a woman that if you wish that that is your goal in life, then you take your way and I will release you beautifully. The word beautifully or Jamila, Shariat has defined it that this should be in a very amicable manner with agreement on both sides, where the husband, it is praiseworthy for them to give a set of clothing as a gift to the wife who's going away. And also if the mahr, the dowry has not been paid, the dower has not been paid, then that should also be given. So this is the option that the Prophet ﷺ put forth before the Azwaj Mutahharat, all the noble wives of the Prophet ﷺ. Sayyidah Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu anha says that I was the first one to whom the Prophet ﷺ called and presented this offer, but before he said so, he said that I'm going to say something to you, but don't answer me right away. Think hard about it and consult your parents before you respond. And she says that it is the blessing and mercy of the Prophet ﷺ that he first advised me to consult my parents about it, because he knew that my parents are wiser and they would never ever advise me to leave the Prophet ﷺ. But when the Prophet ﷺ actually said this thing to her, she said, Ya Rasulullah, there is nothing to ask about. I choose you, I prefer you over everything else. The second ayah says, and none of the azwaj, all of them retracted there. This was not based on greed or anything. It was basically based on essentially their simple thought that if the whole society is in a much better shape, then maybe we can also be in a better shape. But all of them retracted this thought. وَإِن كُنتُنَّ تُرِدْنَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ, and say to them that if you intend to gain the pleasure of Allah, if your intention is Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَالدَّارَ الْآخِرَةِ, and the world of the hereafter, the house of the hereafter, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ أَعَدَّ لِلْمُحْسِنَاتِ مِنْكُنَّ أَجْرًا عَظِيمًا, then Allah has prepared a great reward for those of you who are good in their deeds. So those who make the choice of they prefer choosing hardship over ease and worldly luxury, Allah has prepared for them a great reward for the hereafter. Ya nisa an-nabiyyi man ya'ti minkunna bi fahishatin mubayyinah. Allah is further detailing that staying with the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has its requisites, and these are the commands that will apply to them. They have to be wary of these. Ya nisa an-nabi, O women of Nabi. The ulama have said that the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing them, therein is great honor for them, that you are the nisa of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you are the women of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Your nisbat, your connection is directly with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you are being declared such by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran. Ya nisa an-nabi man ya'ti minkunna bi fahishatin mubayyinah. Generally fahisha has two meanings. One is an act of vulgarity, but it is unthought of, unheard of, not only for the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, but wives of any other Nabi either, that they engaged in any act of adultery or any shameful act of such kind. This is basically the other meaning which has also been used, the same word has been used for other meaning, which is any act of sin. So any act of sin, or particularly such an act that hurts the Prophet ﷺ, the challenge for you is that because you are the nisa of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you are the women of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you do something that hurts the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yudha'af laha al-'adhabu dhi'fayn. For whoever of you does that, Allah will double the punishment for her, and it is وَكَانَ ذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ يَسِيرًا, it is easy for Allah. وَمَن يَقْنُطْ مِنْكُنَّ لِلَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَتَعْمَلْ صَالِحًا, and whoever of you stays obedient to Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَتَعْمَلْ صَالِحًا, and acts righteously, نُؤْتِهَا أَجْرَهَا مَرَّتَيْنِ, Allah will give her twice the reward. So the reward is also doubled and the punishment is also doubled. وَأَعْتَدْنَا لَهَا رِزْقًا كَرِيمًا, we have prepared for her a prestigious provision, and that is that they will be with the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam honorable in Jannah in the hereafter as well. Inshallah, we'll continue reading tomorrow, where there is some more commands which are given in this relation about the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they also apply to general believing women. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Ameen bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin.